In the far reaches of two vastly different universes, there exist figures whose very presence defines the limits of power, belief, and destiny. One is the Emperor of Mankind, a godlike being from the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. The immortal protector of humanity, bound to a golden throne for 10,000 years, his psychic light keeping the species alive amidst endless war. The other universe belongs to the realm of Dragon Ball, where warriors ascend beyond mortal boundaries, shattering planets and rewriting the laws of existence through sheer will. But what would happen if these two worlds collided? What if the Emperor of Mankind, the undying beacon of the Imperium, were suddenly transported into the Dragon Ball universe? The story begins in the aftermath of a cataclysm. On Holy Terra, deep within the Imperial Palace, the Astronomicon flickered. The golden light that had guided humanity across the stars for millennia began to waver. Tech priests screamed in binary prayer, servitors burned out in psychic overload, and across the Imperium, warp routes collapsed into chaos. The Emperor's psychic essence, bound by millennia of ritual and sacrifice, was being pulled, twisted by an external force no one could comprehend. Even the High Lords of Terror had no words for what they were witnessing. For the first time since the Horus Heresy, the Emperor's mind drifted away from the physical confines of his throne. The warp, a realm of pure emotion and thought, howled as his presence tore through it like a blade of divine will. He could feel something tugging at him, not the demons of chaos, not the echo of his primarchs, but an alien energy, vast yet strangely harmonious. It was not the warp at all, but something entirely other, something born of ki. The breach occurred in an instant, a fracture in space, a rift in metaphysical fabric, and the Emperor, mind and essence alike, fell through. When he emerged, he found himself standing beneath a sky so blue it hurt his eyes. He felt the sun's warmth, the wind across his skin, and the thrum of life coursing through every particle of the planet. It was a sensation he had not felt in over 10,000 years. The Emperor of Mankind had arrived on Earth, but not his Earth. This was the world of Dragon Ball. The first to sense him was Goku. He was in the mountains, training as usual, when the air itself seemed to stop. Every living creature froze, birds mid-flight, rivers mid-flow, as an immense, impossible energy washed over the planet. It wasn't ki, not in any form he recognized. It was cold, ancient, and infinite. Goku opened his eyes and looked to the horizon. For the first time in years, he couldn't sense the limits of another being's power. Meanwhile, the Emperor stood silent upon a rocky plateau. His psychic senses expanded outward, mapping this strange new world in an instant. He saw the flow of ki as luminous threads connecting every living thing, not unlike the psychic currents of the warp, but pure and stable, untainted by chaos. It fascinated him. Here, mortals wielded power, drawn from life itself, not from the immaterium. Yet even as he studied it, he could feel something familiar in the distance. Echoes of war, remnants of destruction, and a lineage of battle that stretched across generations. This world was primitive, but its warriors were anything but. Goku appeared moments later, materializing through instant transmission. He hovered above the plateau, smiling politely but wary. "Hey, I don't think we've met before. I can't sense your energy. Are you hiding it, or something?" The Emperor regarded him with eyes that burned like twin suns. His voice, when he spoke, carried the weight of 1,000 worlds. "I do not hide, child. You simply lack the senses to perceive what I am." Goku blinked, scratching his head. Okay, you sound kinda serious. You're not one of Beerus's friends, are you? The Emperor's gaze shifted slightly. That name, Beerus, resonated with a power signature unlike any mortal's. The faint threads of cosmic balance emanated from it. A god, perhaps, though not one born of the warp. Interesting. I am not your destroyer god, he said finally. I am the guardian of mankind, though not of this mankind, it seems. Goku's expression softened. You mean you're from another world? Another reality, the Emperor corrected. A universe consumed by war, where faith and fire are humanity's only shields. A place where the gods you playfully spar with are horrors beyond imagination. For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind rolled across the plateau. Then Goku grinned. Well, that sounds rough. But hey, if you're here, maybe you can relax. Or we can train. You've got crazy strong vibes, old guy. The Emperor's lips almost curved. Almost. Your spirit is untainted, he said. You are pure in a way my world has forgotten, but your naivety blinds you. Power without purpose is chaos. Maybe, Goku replied, but sometimes fighting's how I find my purpose. The Emperor studied him, reading every atom of his being. This mortal's potential was boundless, not because of his strength, but because of his heart. He was unshackled by fear, uncorrupted by despair. In his own universe, such a soul would have been extinguished long ago. Before their conversation could continue, another energy flared in the distance, violent, arrogant, and proud. Vegeta appeared in a burst of light, arms folded, aura flickering with irritation. Kakarot, who's this? I felt that energy spike all the way from Capsule Corporation. Don't tell me you found another lunatic god. The Emperor turned his gaze to Vegeta. The Saiyan Prince felt the weight of that look and involuntarily took half a step back. It wasn't fear, it was instinct. A predator recognizing something infinitely higher on the chain. I am the Emperor of mankind, the stranger said, voice calm but absolute. And you are warriors of remarkable spirit. Emperor, huh? Vegeta sneered. You don't look like much. Goku winced. Vegeta, maybe don't. But before he could finish, the Emperor raised a hand. A ripple of golden psychic energy spread outward, silencing the world for miles. Both Saiyans froze as their bodies were flooded with sensations they couldn't describe. It wasn't ki, wasn't magic, it was truth. For a fraction of a second, they felt what it was to be seen by a god who had watched galaxies burn. When the Emperor released them, Goku gasped for air. Wow, that was insane. What was that? Faith, the Emperor replied. The belief of 10 trillion souls made manifest. Vegeta's pride burned. Shh, you think you can impress me with parlor tricks? Let's see what that faith of yours does against a Super Saiyan. He transformed in an instant, golden light erupting into the sky. Goku sighed but smiled. This was classic Vegeta. Yet as the Saiyan Prince prepared to strike, the Emperor did not move. His voice echoed through Vegeta's mind alone. I have seen gods die screaming in the warp. You are brave, but you do not yet understand what you challenge. For the first time in his life, Vegeta hesitated. Goku looked between them, sensing something far greater than battle brewing, something that could alter both universes forever. And somewhere beyond the stars, Beerus stirred from his slumber. High above the earth, the sky rippled with energy unseen by mortal eyes. The Emperor's arrival had not gone unnoticed by the cosmic hierarchy of this universe. On his distant world, Beerus the Destroyer opened his golden eyes, his tail flicking lazily as ripples of divine tension spread across the cosmos. Whis, ever calm, tilted his head slightly as he observed the celestial disturbance through his staff. Someone new has entered our universe, Whis mused. Voice light but precise, and not through any conventional means. His energy isn't ki nor divine power as we know it. It's something older. Denser Beerus frowned. Older than me? His tone was skeptical, yet there was a trace of unease. You're saying some ancient relic just wandered into my universe? Whis smiled faintly. Not a relic, Lord Beerus. More like a sovereign flame that refuses to die. Shall we investigate? Beerus rose, stretching lazily, but his expression was cold. If something thinks it can outshine a god of destruction, it'll find out how wrong it is. Back on Earth, the tension between Vegeta and the Emperor hung thick in the air. The Saiyan Prince's golden aura crackled, shaking the ground beneath him. The Emperor stood unmoving, his expression unreadable, his psychic aura burning like the heart of a star. Goku stepped forward, raising a hand. Hold up, Vegeta. Maybe we shouldn't. But Vegeta was already gone, a blur of motion and fury. He charged straight at the Emperor, fist blazing with godly ki. The impact never came. A single glance from the Emperor froze Vegeta mid-strike. His arm trembled, his body refusing to move. To Vegeta's horror, his own ki flickered and died, as if crushed under an invisible weight. The Emperor's voice resonated within his mind. Not a sound, but a decree. You wield the power of destruction, he said, but without understanding creation. You are a fragment of what could be, a warrior without faith. Vegeta's body was released, and he fell to one knee, gasping. The ground beneath him smoldered. Though the Emperor hadn't lifted a finger, Goku stood, wide-eyed. That wasn't even ki. You didn't fight him. You just... I commanded him, the Emperor said, turning his gaze toward the horizon. In my world, mortals like him are legion. Pride is the first step toward damnation. Despite his pride, Vegeta clenched his teeth and looked up. Don't preach to me, old man. I've fought gods before. You're not the first to think you're untouchable. Perhaps, the Emperor said quietly, but I am not a god by choice. I became one because humanity demanded it. Before Goku could respond, a soft, melodic voice echoed from behind them. How fascinating. I've never felt anything quite like this before, said the voice. Goku turned, grinning with recognition. Hey, Whis. And Lord Beerus, too. The Emperor turned his gaze toward the newcomers. The air itself shimmered as Whis descended gracefully, his staff humming with divine resonance, followed by Beerus, whose expression was far from amused. The god of destruction landed with the casual lethality of a predator. So, Beerus said, stretching his neck, you're the one causing all this noise. You've got some nerve showing up uninvited to my universe. The Emperor studied him for a moment. There was power in Beerus, refined, disciplined, ancient, but it was narrow, specialized, a god built for balance through annihilation. The Emperor's expression remained calm. I did not come by choice, he said. Your universe called to me. My presence here is the result of forces beyond even my design. Wise tilted his head, intrigued. A dimensional displacement, perhaps? You seem to exist outside the normal hierarchy of energy. No key, no divine signature, and yet your essence is infinite. Remarkable Beerus frowned. Enough analysis, Whis. I don't like it when strangers radiate power stronger than mine. It throws off my appetite. Goku stepped forward, hands raised. Wait, Beerus? He's not attacking anyone. He's just Kind of really powerful and super serious. Silence, Beerus snapped, though not harshly. His eyes never left the Emperor. You there, you call yourself the Emperor of mankind. Tell me, what gives you the right to stride across my stars? The Emperor's voice was like thunder, wrapped in calm. Because I am the sum of humanity's will. Where I walk, the destiny of my species follows. Even here, I feel their echo. This earth teems with mortals. My instinct compels me to protect them. Beerus smirked. Protect them? That's my job. I destroy to preserve balance. If I think this planet's better off erased, it's gone. Then your balance, the Emperor said evenly, is a lie built upon fear. The words struck like blades. For a moment, even Wiss's smile faded. Beerus's eyes narrowed. Careful, mortal. I am no mortal, the Emperor replied. I am humanity's immortal soul. I have ruled for 10,000 years, not by conquest, but by necessity. I am not here to challenge you, god of destruction, but do not mistake restraint for submission. Wiss's voice broke the silence, smooth and calm. My. Quite the philosophical clash. Lord Beerus, perhaps this being is not an intruder, but an opportunity to learn. Beerus snorted. Learn what? How to brood in gold armor. Still, there was tension beneath his sarcasm. He could feel it, an aura that dwarfed even his divine essence. The Emperor radiated not just power, but authority, the kind of authority that bent civilizations to their knees. Goku, ever the peacemaker, chuckled nervously. Maybe we could, spar, to understand each other's power better. Beerus and the Emperor both looked at him, and for once, even Goku realized he might have spoken out of turn. But then, to everyone's surprise, the Emperor nodded. A test of strength can reveal truth where words fail. Beerus's grin returned. Now, you're speaking my language. Whis clapped his hands softly, creating a shimmering field of energy that lifted all four of them into orbit. A neutral ground, he said. No interference, no collateral damage. Try not to shatter the universe. The void above Earth glittered as stars framed their battleground. The Emperor floated effortlessly, his golden aura faint but vast, a sun's gravity bound within human form. Across from him, Beerus flexed his claws, violet energy dancing around him like fire. Begin, Whis said softly. Beerus vanished first, moving faster than light, his fist connecting with the Emperor's chest in a burst of raw force. The impact echoed across the void, and did nothing. The Emperor didn't even flinch. Beerus's eyes widened for a fraction of a second before the Emperor raised a hand and flicked him away with a telekinetic pulse that tore through space itself. Beerus spun, regaining balance instantly, growling in irritation. Impressive, the god admitted. You're not just power, you're density. Your existence weighs on reality. I am humanity's anchor, the Emperor said. The warp bends around my will. Your strikes are noise to me. Beerus smirked. Then let's make it louder. He exploded forward, his aura igniting the void in violet fire. The Emperor responded not with fists, but with thought. His psychic power unfolded like an ocean, manifesting golden tendrils of light that intercepted Beerus's blows, deflecting, redirecting, twisting energy into elegant patterns. Every movement was effortless, divine precision. Goku watched from afar, his jaw slack. That's insane. Beerus isn't even holding back much. Whis' eyes twinkled. Indeed. And yet this Emperor fights as if war itself were his language. Your strength is divine, but your purpose is hollow. You destroy for equilibrium, yet know nothing of sacrifice. Beerus snarled. Spare me your sermons. he launched a massive sphere of Hakai energy, black and violet, straight toward the Emperor. "Let's see you endure nothingness itself." The Emperor raised his hand. His psychic halo flared, burning white gold. The Hakai sphere halted midair, quivering, then slowly reversed its trajectory. "What?" Beerus hissed. "I command the void as I command the warp," the Emperor said, his voice layered and immense. "Destruction serves me, not the other way around." With a gesture, he dispersed the Hakai energy harmlessly into light. Beerus's aura flickered, rage simmering. "You dare—" "Enough," Whis interrupted, his voice resonating across the cosmos. "Both of you could unravel this universe if you continue. Let us remember balance." Beerus floated back, glaring. The Emperor lowered his hand, calm once more. "You fight well," Beerus said grudgingly, "but you're not from here. You don't belong in this realm." "I did not choose to be here," the Emperor replied. "But while I remain, I will not see humanity suffer, not even yours." Wiss's staff pulsed with light. "Perhaps there's a reason you were drawn here, Emperor. Realities seldom intersect by chance. There is a darkness approaching in this universe. Something old, something outside the reach of even gods." Beerus folded his arms. "Another threat, huh?" "Figures." The Emperor's gaze turned toward the distant stars. "Then let it come. I have faced the warp itself. No shadow can endure the light of mankind's will." Goku's eyes lit up. "Guess that means we'll fight it together, right?" The Emperor turned toward him, and for the first time, his tone softened. "Perhaps. You, Son Goku, remind me of what humanity was before fear took hold. Free, unbroken, and endlessly curious. That spirit may yet save this universe." Whis smiled faintly. "Then it seems our paths are aligned, at least for now." And as the four of them hovered in the starlit void, the fabric of space trembled once again. Not from battle, but from something vast and unseen, stirring in the cosmic deep. A presence neither divine nor mortal, but hungry. The tremor began as a whisper across the stars, a hum beyond mortal hearing, vibrating through the very lattice of reality. Wiss's staff pulsed with azure light as he glanced upward, eyes narrowing. "There it is," he said softly. "The anomaly I felt before the Emperor's arrival. It's growing stronger." The Emperor's expression remained calm, though his psychic senses expanded outward, mapping the disturbance with surgical precision. What he found made even him pause. This was not warp corruption, nor key imbalance, nor divine malice. It was entropy, a sentient decay eating through the edges of existence. Beerus crossed his arms, tail flicking impatiently. "Shh! Don't tell me another cosmic pest is trying to rewrite the rules." Whis frowned. "It's not quite that simple, my lord. This energy, it's neither of our universe nor the Emperor's. It's something between them, a rift-born consciousness. Perhaps a reaction to two incompatible realities merging." The Emperor's gaze hardened. "A paradox given form." Goku tilted his head. So basically, our universe's touching made a monster." "Crude," Whis replied, "but accurate." The Emperor closed his eyes, voice deepening into something like prayer. "The warp reacts to emotion. Perhaps this creature feeds on the psychic tension of colliding realities. If so, its hunger will only grow." Beerus sighed. "Then let's just destroy it before it gets annoying." Whis shook his head. "If you destroy it recklessly, you may tear the boundary wider. This isn't a simple enemy, Lord Beerus. This thing is the wound." At that moment, the stars bent. The void itself began to ripple like liquid glass, and a shape emerged, vast, formless, shifting between dimensions. To Goku's senses, it felt like endless energy. To Beerus, it smelled like rot and inevitability. To the Emperor, it was an abomination. He extended his will, projecting his consciousness directly into the creature's essence. Within it, he found chaos, echoes of both universes, fragments of souls screaming without form, warp ghosts intertwined with lost key signatures, crying for release. The Emperor's voice resonated across the battlefield. This being contains fragments of the dead from both realities. Their pain sustains it. Goku clenched his fists. Then we've got to save them, Beerus growled. Save them? It's a cosmic disease, not a charity case. But before he could act, the creature attacked. Reality itself buckled as tendrils of dark light shot outward, sweeping across the void. Goku barely dodged one, feeling the shockwave tear through his aura. Beerus countered with a burst of destruction energy, only to watch it dissolve uselessly against the creature's shifting mass. Whis' tone grew sharp. It's adapting. Every form of energy it absorbs becomes part of its structure. The Emperor raised his arm, golden light radiating outward. His psychic aura enveloped the tendrils, halting their advance. His mind entered the creature again, deeper this time, probing the structure of its thought. He saw within it reflections of both universes, imperial battlefields twisted with cyan landscapes, demons locked in combat, with shadowy echoes of Goku's foes. It was a fusion of nightmares, birthed from broken laws. "You will not exist," he whispered. The creature shrieked, not in sound, but in concept. Across the galaxy, planets trembled as the noise of its existence echoed through space-time. Goku grit his teeth and powered up, his aura flaring from blue to shimmering silver, ultra instinct awakening in instinctive response. He darted forward, weaving through distortions, fists blazing with divine energy. Every punch struck the creature's form, dispersing fragments of light, but each reformed instantly. Beerus joined in, unleashing Hakai energy from both palms. "Let's see you swallow nothingness twice." But again, the creature adapted, folding reality around itself to deflect the attack. Whis' voice cut through the chaos. "This isn't working. Physical energy is meaningless against it." Goku spun back, panting. Then what can stop it? The Emperor's golden aura flared brighter, expanding like a sun about to go supernova. It feeds on separation, on the gap between realities. Therefore, to end it, he extended his hands, and the space between them shimmered, forming a sigil of pure, psychic energy. "We must unite the forces it cannot comprehend." Beerus scowled. "You mean—" "Yes," the Emperor said, "your divine power. His Kai, my psychic essence. Together, they can create a singular resonance, harmony through will." Whis smiled faintly. "A union of gods, mortals, and faith." How poetic. The Emperor closed his eyes. "Focus your power toward me. Trust in my control." For once, Beerus hesitated, but only for a moment. He extended a clawed hand, channeling his violet destruction energy toward the Emperor. Goku followed, pouring his silver aura into the same sphere. The energies clashed violently at first, screaming against each other. Divine destruction, mortal instinct, and immortal will. Three forces never meant to coexist. The Emperor's form wavered under the pressure, but he stood, resolute. Hold, steady. Inside his mind, he could feel their energies trying to consume one another. Destruction burned faith. Instinct overpowered structure. Will demanded order. Yet slowly, impossibly, he forged balance. A blinding light erupted from his palms, expanding outward into a golden sphere that engulfed the void. The creature recoiled, its form unraveling as the light struck. For the first time, it screamed in true agony, its contradictions collapsing in on themselves. Goku shouted, "We're doing it!" Beerus grit his teeth. "Don't get cocky, mortal!" The Emperor's voice rose above the chaos, calm yet commanding. "By the will of humanity, by the laws of balance, and by the spirit of life itself, be unmade." The light surged, consuming the abomination completely. In its wake, only silence remained. The void was calm again. Goku exhaled, dropping back into normal form. "Man, that was wild. I've fought a lot of crazy stuff, but nothing like that." Beerus floated beside him, arms crossed, pretending disinterest, though his eyes betrayed grudging respect. "You handled yourself well. For a mortal," Goku grinned. "Ha! Thanks, Lord Beerus, but I think we owe the big guy here the real credit." The Emperor's aura dimmed slowly. His armor cracked, faint golden light seeping through the fractures like molten sunlight. He looked almost tired. Whis drifted closer, examining him with quiet fascination. "Your energy is stabilizing, but your essence seems displaced. You're still not fully anchored in this reality." "I know," the Emperor said softly. "That creature's defeat restored the boundary, but not the cause of my arrival. The wound between worlds remains faintly open." Beerus frowned. "So you're stuck here?" "For now," the Emperor replied. "Perhaps until the universes realign, or until I find a way to return through purpose, not accident." Whis smiled. "Then consider yourself a guest of Universe 7, though I'd advise against founding any galactic empires while you're here." The Emperor gave a faint, knowing look. "I make no promises." Goku laughed. "Well, if you're staying for a while, you've got to meet the others. Gohan, Piccolo, maybe even Broly. You'd fit right in." Beerus muttered, "Let's not traumatize them." But as the laughter faded, the Emperor looked back toward Earth, that small blue world teeming with life. His gaze softened, distant and thoughtful. "In my own universe," he said quietly, "humanity lives in fear, of darkness, of heresy, of itself. But here, I see a people who live without fear of their gods, who grow through strength, not obedience. It is humbling." Whis folded his hands behind his back. "Perhaps, my Emperor, that is the lesson you were brought here to learn." The Emperor did not answer, but in the silence that followed, the stars around them shone brighter, as if the universe itself exhaled in relief. And far beyond even Whis's senses, something in the void watched them still. A remnant, faint but enduring, a fragment of the paradox that had not truly died, merely waited. Time passed, though time in this world did not flow as it did in the Emperor's. Days turned to weeks, and the universe of Dragon Ball seemed to resume its rhythm of peace and training, laughter and battle. Yet beneath that calm, subtle ripples of change spread outward. The Emperor of mankind had become a presence, distant, mysterious, yet undeniably real. The Z fighters spoke of him in awe. Goku trained harder, Vegeta meditated more often, and even Beerus found himself contemplating his place in a cosmos suddenly larger than he'd imagined. The Emperor never sought worship, but his influence was unmistakable. He resided now atop the lookout, where Kami and Dendi once stood guard. The Namekian Guardian watched him with reverent curiosity, while the Emperor observed Earth from above, silent and patient. His mind stretched across continents, not to control, but to understand. On one morning that seemed brighter than most, Goku arrived, cheerful as ever, landing with his usual grin. "Hey, morning, Your Majesty, or do I just call you Emperor?" The golden armored figure turned slightly, his voice calm and deep. Titles are burdens, son Goku. You may call me what you wish. Goku chuckled. All right then. How about sir? Anyway, I came to ask, wanna train with me again? Whis says mixing ki and that psychic stuff of yours could unlock something new. The Emperor's gaze softened, barely perceptible, but genuine. You learn not for conquest, but for self-improvement. That is rare among warriors. Ah, I just like getting stronger, Goku said, rubbing the back of his neck. But yeah, it's kinda about protecting people too. Guess we're not so different, huh? Perhaps not, the Emperor replied, though your purity of purpose would not have survived a day in my world. Goku smiled faintly. Then maybe your world just needs more people like you used to be. The words lingered in the air, heavier than Goku realized. For centuries beyond count, the Emperor had borne the weight of humanity's survival, their sins, their wars, their faith. Here, standing before a man who fought without hate or fear, he felt something stir within him that he had long forgotten. Hope, unconditioned, uncommanded, unbroken. Before he could speak, the sky darkened. The air vibrated with an all-too-familiar energy. Weiss and Beerus appeared an instant later, their expressions grave. It's begun again, Whis said, his tone losing its usual playful rhythm. The remnant, the paradox creature. It's reconstituting itself, feeding off the residual overlap between universes. Beerus's aura flickered with restrained fury. I knew we should have destroyed that tier completely. The Emperor's eyes flared with light. Where? Whis pointed his staff toward the upper atmosphere. Just beyond this planet's orbit, but its energy pattern is strange. It's mimicking something. Goku frowned. Mimicking what? Before Whis could answer, the sky itself cracked. A massive rift tore through the clouds, spilling light and shadow in equal measure. And from it emerged not the monstrous form of before, but a man. He looked like the Emperor, his armor, his stance, even his voice as he spoke, all identical. But his eyes glowed red, and his aura burned black. Finally, the double said, smirking, no longer bound by either reality. I am the will of what should not be. Beerus's expression turned predatory. Wonderful. The universe has spawned you a twin. Whis studied the doppelganger carefully. No, Lord Beerus. This is no mere reflection. It's the paradox given consciousness, the opposite of the Emperor's purpose. A manifestation of dominion without restraint. The Emperor stepped forward, face unreadable. You are the shadow of my will, a distortion of what I am. And what you could have been, the dark version replied. You who preach restraint, compassion, and order. When deep down, you know humanity thrives on control, on worship, on fear. You built an empire of silence and called it salvation. For the first time since arriving in this world, the Emperor's aura trembled, not from weakness, but from recognition. His reflection was not wrong. It was truth twisted to poison. Goku's voice broke the silence. If you're him, then you've got his power too. But you're missing something. His heart. The shadow laughed. Heart, power, is the only truth, Saiyan. He turned his gaze toward Goku. You, especially, a being who breaks limits for sport, you would fit well in my dominion. Goku powered up, silver aura crackling around him. You'll have to fight for that. The Emperor raised a hand. No, Goku, this one is mine. The look he gave his double was ancient and sorrowful. For millennia, I have fought demons, heretics, and gods, but never have I faced the purest reflection of my failure. The shadow spread his arms. Then face it now. The universe shuddered as they clashed. Golden and black energy collided, flooding the void with light and shadow. Every strike echoed like thunder across dimensions. The Emperor's psychic force shaped the battlefield itself. Meteors turned to shields, gravity bent under his will. Yet the dark counterpart matched him blow for blow, feeding on the Emperor's own restraint. "You hold back," the shadow sneered, blocking a psychic blade with a sweep of dark fire. "You always have. That's why you're dying on a throne while your Imperium burns." "Restraint," the Emperor answered, voice calm amid the storm, "is what separates divinity from tyranny." "Then let me show you what happens when divinity embraces tyranny." The Dark Emperor unleashed a wave of inverted light, tearing through dimensions. Goku and Beerus shielded themselves as the explosion shattered time itself. Moments flickered out of sequence, past and present folding together. For an instant, Goku saw visions, Earth burning under golden statues, mortals chanting in endless obedience, the universe ruled by a god who had forgotten mercy. The Emperor emerged from the maelstrom, golden armor fractured, psychic halo dimmed, his double advanced, relentless. "You cannot kill me," the shadow said. "I am every lie you ever told yourself, every compromise you made in the name of order." The Emperor's voice was low. "Then I will do what must be done, as I always have." He clasped his hands together, focusing the remnants of the merged power from before, ki, divinity, and psychic light. It burned through his veins, brighter and purer than before. The air itself began to sing. The shadow lunged. "You'll destroy yourself." "Perhaps," the Emperor said, "but I was never meant to endure." Only to protect the impact of their collision split the heavens. The lookout trembled. Even Wish shielded his eyes as a storm of gold and black consumed everything. When the light finally faded, silence fell. Only one figure remained standing. The Emperor, his armor broken, his aura fading, but his eyes still bright with will. Across from him, the shadow's form flickered, destabilizing. "You can't erase what you are," it hissed. "No," the Emperor said quietly, "but I can choose what I become." The shadow's body fractured, its essence dispersing into starlight. And as it vanished, so too did the final remnants of the paradox tier. The universes began to separate once more, gently realigning. Goku landed beside the Emperor, eyes wide. "You did it. You actually did it." The Emperor's body flickered faintly, his form beginning to fade. "It seems the barrier restores balance. My presence here was the disruption. Once I am gone, your world will be whole again." Beerus floated closer, crossing his arms. "You're leaving, then?" "I must," the Emperor said. "Humanity awaits, even if it no longer remembers why." Whis smiled softly. "Then may both universes remember the light you brought." Goku looked down, sad but smiling. "Guess we won't get to train again, huh?" "Perhaps one day," the Emperor said, placing a hand briefly on Goku's shoulder. "Keep fighting, not for conquest, but for life. You remind me of what we once were." And with that, his form dissolved into light, spreading across the sky like dawn breaking through night. When it faded, all that remained was silence, and the faint whisper of his last words carried on the wind. "Humanity endures." Whis looked upward, eyes shimmering. "He's gone," Beerus huffed. "About time. One god of impossible speeches is enough." Goku laughed quietly, staring at the horizon. "Nah, he's not gone. He's just back where he belongs, and far beyond the stars, across the veil of realities, on a distant golden throne." The Emperor's eyes opened. The Astronomicon burned brighter than it had in 10,000 years. For the first time since the Age of Darkness, the Emperor of Mankind smiled. The Astronomicon blazed across the galaxy like a second sun. Billions of souls felt it, though none could name why. On hive worlds and shrine cities, pilgrims fell to their knees as the light that guided ships through the warp flared with renewed strength. The High Lords of Terra whispered of omens. The tech priests of Mars saw machine spirits awaken and chant hymns without command. On the Golden Throne, the Emperor of Mankind stirred. His eyes opened fully, twin stars burning with clarity that had not been seen in 10 millennia. For the first time in an age, he remembered warmth. The silence of the throne room shattered as custodians sensed the impossible. The master of mankind, who had lain motionless for 10,000 years, now breathed, slowly, deliberately. One of them, Tribune Valerian, dropped to one knee, voice trembling. "Lord of humanity, the throne holds your flesh. You live." The Emperor's voice came like thunder through fog, distant yet vast. "I have always lived, my son. But now, I feel." The psychic storm around Terra began to calm. Warp storms across 1,000 sectors flickered, dimming to near silence. Astropaths wept blood and light, singing in tongues unknown, proclaiming, "The veil has thinned." But within the stillness of his mind, the Emperor saw beyond. He saw the echo of the Saiyan's smile, the unyielding fire in Goku's heart, the unpretentious goodness that had pierced even his ancient cynicism. And deep within the Imperium, within that sea of madness, something else stirred. Not evil, not corruption, possibility. Far from Terra, deep within Segmentum Obscurus, the Black Templars crusaded through the void. The warp storms that had once cut them off now cleared as if parting before divine will. Their chaplain turned his gaze to the stars, whispering, "The Emperor protects." But on the bridge of their strike cruiser, one of the navigators gasped, "My lord, the Astronomicon, it's changed." The chaplain frowned. "Changed?" "It burns brighter," she said, eyes glowing silver with psychic light. "And purer. I see no screaming faces within the warp, only light." In the depths of the warp, demons writhed. The change struck them like a spear of fire. The light that had always been their enemy, predictable, distant, now felt alive, aware, present. Khorne roared, slamming a fist into his skull throne. "He returns." Tzeentch laughed, his infinite faces shifting in ripples of color. "Not as he was, blood god. He carries a fragment of order from another verse, something alien, something that does not belong here. Then we shall make it bleed." But even the changer of ways hesitated. For in the endless maze of fate, one path now burned too bright to touch, a thread woven with impossible power, one that had crossed realities and returned with something even chaos could not predict. Hope without ignorance. In the hidden chambers of Mars, Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Call stood before the hololith of Terra. His mechanical mind processed trillions of data streams. Biological function restored. Neural activity at levels beyond pre-heresy parameters. The Emperor is awakening. Servitors chanted litanies of recalibration, machine oil dripping like incense. Call's dozens of eyes glimmered with cold satisfaction. At last, the Omnissiah reborn, but changed. A new data pattern, an infusion from another universe. He paused, his processors replaying psychic echoes detected from the warp. An image formed in his mind. A man with orange GI, laughing as he defied a god. "Curious," Call murmured. "The machine god now remembers joy." On Terra, the Emperor's voice filled the Imperium, no longer a static hum, but a resonant chord, carried through the minds of billions of psychers. "My children, long have I watched your wars, your faith, your cruelty. I built an Imperium to save you, yet in my silence, it became a cage, no more. Across the galaxy, Imperial worlds trembled as every preacher, every saint, every psyker heard his words. The galaxy will burn with renewal, not by my wrath, but by my will to heal. On the bridge of the phalanx, Rogel Dawn's descendants looked to the stars in disbelief. The Primarch had never returned, but now they felt something greater. The Emperor's will no longer chained them to blind obedience. It freed them to choose. Deep within the eye of terror, a voice whispered in mockery. So, he learns from mortals who dance and scream and fight for joy. Magnus the Red stood before his demonic legions, his single eye narrowing. Not joy, brother. Understanding. And that is far more dangerous. Lorgar knelt before his dark gods, trembling. If he speaks again, what will become of us? Abaddon, aboard the vengeful spirit, looked out into the void. For the first time, doubt flickered in his gaze. If the Emperor has changed, he said softly, then so must the war. Back on Terra, light streamed from the golden throne. The Emperor's body, long bound by machinery, now pulsed with organic regeneration. His skin reformed, his armor fused to living flesh. He no longer looked skeletal or decayed, but radiant, terrible, human. He stood, the sound echoing like the fall of a god. The custodians fell prostrate. Choirs across the palace fainted as divine pressure filled the air. I return, the Emperor said simply, not as I was, but as I should have been. He extended a hand toward the empty air, and in his palm appeared a faint, glowing sphere, the lingering essence of Goku's ki, brought back across the gulf between universes. From another reality, a mortal taught me what divinity had forgotten. His voice softened. To fight for life, not dominion. He looked toward the galaxy, endless, broken, beautiful. Rise, humanity. The age of silence is over. The Astronomicon flared once more, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the light of the Emperor shone not only as a beacon for ships, but as a dawn for souls.